Today we are going to install this fancy PID on the Gaggia Classic Pro. This video has been a long time in coming. I decided to wait until I found a PID that I like the aesthetic of. And this one looks very nice. It comes with a shot counter even, and it's a magnetic one. So you can stick it here onto the side of your machine. Either way you want, very nice. Let's just get started and get this installed in the Gaggia Classic Pro. Now, before we go any further, as a disclaimer, be very careful. Make sure that your machine is unplugged, cooled down, not under pressure, and you are responsible for your own safety and for the proper operation of your machine. All right, so let's just talk about what the kit all comes with. It's got this really cool looking PID unit right here. So this is the solid state relay right here. It's already all wired up, and we're going to wire it in there according to the directions. Then we've got here an AC-DC converter, so to go in this case from 230 volts down to 5 volts. And this also works for American voltage for 120 as well. Then we've got this PT sensor here, very important. This is going to replace the thermostat. This kit comes with a light, which I think is excellent. This is going to go right down here, and that's going to be helpful for seeing how much water is in the tank. In addition, what kind of sets this kit apart from others, besides this really cool display, is the fact that it's got here a reed switch that goes on a solenoid. So this is for the shot counter. So that's about it. Now we can go ahead and get started.
Getting value from this video? Please take a moment to like and subscribe.
If you would like to do this kit yourself, keep in mind, I'm going to put a link in the description box down below so you can go check it out. One more disclosure, I reached out to Barista Gadgets and I asked if this could be installed on the EU unit because I wanted to buy one. And thankfully, without my prompting, Barista Gadgets sent me one actually for free to test out. But I selected it anyway. It's what I wanted to purchase to begin with. Finally, with all that out of the way, let's get going. All right, so first thing is first, you can see we're unplugged here. Let's just go ahead and get rid of everything that's on here. Get rid of this lid, portafilter, drip tray. Take this guy out of there. Our water tank. Let's go ahead and remove this top panel here. And we're just going to set that off to the side here. Now you can see the internals of the Gaggia Classic Pro. So let's see, what is the next step? In the manual it says now to take pictures of the inside before you change anything, and I agree with that. Make sure to take pictures while you're doing this so that you can put it back together the right way. So what we're going to do next is we're going to mark these connectors here according to the picture in the manual. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And finally, here's 7 and 8. Now we've got to remove this screw here at the top of the boiler. This screw here holds on, first of all, a ground wire, as well as makes contact here to the fuse. Let's just set that there for now. All right, now we're going to remove these cables here at the top of the boiler. So cable 1. These are pretty easy to remove. Just wiggle those a little bit. These ones here on top of the steam thermostat are a little bit more stubborn. 3 and 4 attached to the steam thermostat. There we go. 5 and 6. Oh, look at that. One goes to 6. Let's put that back on there. All right, now we're going to remove the steam valve. That just pulls right off like that. The steam valve knob, I should say. And in the directions, it says to remove that clip down there. I tried that ahead of time. It's actually kind of a pain. So what I'm going to do instead is take a 17mm wrench, and I'm just going to unscrew this nut here and set that steam wand off to the side. Excellent. At this point, we can go ahead and attach the solid state relay to the back of the machine. So let's do that. Just set it in there like that according to the directions. So now we're going to screw this down as described in the manual. That looks like a good spot right there. By the way, you have to make sure that you place this relay so that the screws that attach the top panel still have clearance. So I gotta move this one over. We're now going to loosen these bolts here, holding the brew group on to the chassis. It's a 4mm Allen wrench. Okay, now we should have access to the boiler. Let's remove that collar there. And what we want to do is carefully tilt it upwards. We can label the two wires attached to the brew thermostat. Let's call this left and right. And what we're going to do is take a flat blade screwdriver and just remove those connections. Take your time here and be gentle. A needle nose may also do the trick. There we go. Okay, so now you can see that the brew thermostat is exposed. So now what we can do is take these two cables from the solid state relay and we can run those through here. We've got kind of a cable holder here. And now we're going to attach the leads from the thermostat to the two leads coming from that solid state relay. All right, once you've got those two leads connected, you can just kind of wrap them up neatly. We've got a cable holder here in my particular unit. Next step. Now we've got to remove this brew thermostat. So I'm going to take this 17mm wrench and turn it counterclockwise. That right there is the brew thermostat. And that acts as a switch, basically on-off switch, to tell the heater when to heat. We're going to replace that thermostat now instead with this temperature sensor, and that's going to make things much more filigree. You have to be careful with this wire, by the way. Don't kink the wire. We now have to screw in that PT sensor in the spot where the thermostat was. Be careful doing this because the wire is sensitive. Getting access is half the battle. Just like working on a car. And be very careful tightening this on there. I'm just going to snug it a little bit. Okay. Now we can put the boiler back where it belongs. And we want to route this cable back through here. Carefully route PT cable through here, away from the boiler. Don't kink it. Below the solid state relay. Now we can kind of coil it up and put it through one of these vents. Okay. Okay. All right, so you can see here, this is how we've got that PT cable routed. Next step is we've got to attach this little guy. This is the shot timer. We've got to attach this to the solenoid. So this is going to go like this on the solenoid. It has to be placed so that when the solenoid is activated, that the read sensor notices that. I'm going to be using a tweezers here. And at this point you should wait 12 hours before turning the machine on to allow the glue to set. Next step, we're going to plug this reed switch. Well, we might as well put it in right away into its holder. Now we're going to take the reed switch and we're going to plug it here into the green and yellow connector. Okay, now it's time to remove these two power connectors. And again, as a reminder, make sure that your machine is off. Of course, unplugged. Should be unplugged this whole time. Let's remove 7 and 8. And now let's label the two underneath with 9 and 10. 9, 10. And now it's time to install this AC-DC converter. So what we're going to do is remove this connector here, number 9. And connector 9 is going to get attached to the ACN of this AC-DC converter. That's what they call a pigtail. All right, that pigtail is on. Let's attach the other pigtail. Now we can attach the other pigtail coming from the ACL to number 10. Good to go. And now we can put 10 and 9 back where they belong. Now we can go ahead and attach 7 and 8 back on there. Run these here away from the boiler.
There is, by the way, an important distinction to make between the US and EU models. This right here is an EU model, and therefore we need to tap the top of this switch for the power for the AC-DC converter. Therefore, these piggyback connectors, these red ones here, don't go on 9 and 10. Instead, they go on 7 and 8. Put that 7 back on there, and
now we can reattach these cables like they were before. Let's first get our fuse in place. That's important. So this right here, that's where the fuse is going to go. Excellent, we got the fuse on. Now let's reattach the rest of the wires. So we got 1, then we got 2, then we've got 3 and 4, 5 and 6. All right, and now what we can do is connect the power to the PID here, the blue and white. Go attach there. And let's feed this cable through one of the slots. Thankfully, the cable's already shielded with that black shielding. Just kind of have to squeeze it through there. It's a tight fit. All right, excellent. And what else we're going to do is attach power here to the LED that we're going to put in the tank down below. So this is going to slide down in there. So I've gone ahead and I've just kind of wrapped up our cables there. This AC-DC converter, I've just got laying there for now. I would suggest putting some double-sided tape on there to stick it on. I'll have to do that later. But otherwise, the rest is installed. And I also went ahead and I stuck that little lamp on here on the inside of the above the water tank. Now we can put the machine back together. We're going to come back and test it out then with the PID installed tomorrow. Let's finish putting it together. So what do we have to do? We've got to attach the brew group again where it was before. So just put these screws in. Before you screw them in too tight, we're going to have to make sure that everything is lined up. So we'll just do it most of the way. Okay, so next we've got to attach our steam wand back on. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put that on. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I have to unscrew it. All right, before putting the boiler back in place, we got to get this, there we go, this collar on. Is that the right way? No. All right, now we can screw the brew group back on. All right, so now we have to stick on the steam knob. Let's put that back on. Like so. And then we want to make sure this is nice and centered here before we tighten the bolts the rest of the way. Now we can do that. Now we'll go ahead and just attach the steam wand again and we'll be good to go. There is an O-ring in there, so you have to make sure it's on there nice and tight. Okay, that is tight. And now we've got our control unit here on the side. I've already plugged in the temperature sensor as well as plugged in the rest of the adapter. And now we can just attach that to the side there
One more thing that I wanted to mention, guys, after the fact is where to put this included cable tie connector. So I located it here, and its purpose is to hold these cables because they are relatively heavy and they would cause this unit here to slide down. Now, the unit itself is held on with magnets, no problem. And this way, with the cable tie holder, you've got them nice and neat out of the way and they can't drag the controller down.
Let's put this back on. There's something in the way. So I did end up having to move the relay a couple of spots over here. So you'll see I've got it mounted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from this side away in order to be able to get this funnel back installed, because the funnel takes up a good amount of space. But now it all fits. All right. So now we can decide where we want to put this guy. Do we want to put it here? Do we want to put it up on top? The choice is up to you. I think I'll keep it right there for now. And here's one more tip. Make sure everything goes back together before coiling it up and zip tying all of your wires, because I actually had them a little bit too tight and I ended up pulling a connection off and I had to redo the connection. So now it's all back together. Let's wait 24 hours. Let's fire it up and see how it works. See you in the next part of the video. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this PID HMI. So I've actually got it set at 103 right now. The actual current temperature is 105, and you can see down here is the shot counter. Let's go into the menu. You do so by pressing the middle button here in the back. So if you press and hold down the middle button, you come to the menu. So we can set the temperature. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so the temperature is set at 103 degrees Celsius, and that does well for me. I'm gonna go back. Then you can set the offset. That is currently at 0, but you could set the offset if you wanted. Then you got the display orientation. You can set it for portrait or for a vertical. Then you got the display color. It doesn't show up all that well on video, unfortunately, but it's a very nice display. Then you can choose between Celsius and Fahrenheit. And here are the PID settings. So that's very cool. We've got the proportional gain set at 45. The default was 40. The integral gain is at 2.0. And the derivative gain is at 250. Those are default values. The warm-up time. So the warm-up time you can set up so that you can just show on the display that the machine is warmed up based on a timer. So let's just choose 10 minutes. So this rising thermometer here shows that the machine is still in the warm-up phase. The next thing is the heater safety time. If you have a USA machine, then you can set the time after which this PID will stop heating the boiler. So this is set for 1 hour right now. Doesn't apply for this one because this is an EU and it turns off itself after 20 minutes. Then there is a pre-infusion setting, and there's also a timer mode. This next one is interesting, steam temperature. You can also use the PID to control the Gaggia Classic Pro for steam. So what you want to do for the steam temperature, by the way, is actually set the minimum temperature close to the maximum temperature. The minimum set at 155 and the max at 157. And what this does is it triggers the PID unit to heat earlier so that you have good steam the whole time that you're steaming. And that is it. A very cool little PID. And yeah, as you can see here, this is the current temperature and this is the shot counter. So if I just start the pump, you will see it start counting time. All right, here we go, test run. Set at 103 degrees here, P45I, 2D250, grind setting 3, and here we go, 16 grams.
32 grams right now. 25-second shot. And I would say that it held the temperature pretty well.
Let's go into steam mode. Just hit this top button. You probably can't see it, but that turns into a little milk can, and now it's going to start heating up. Where are we at? 159. And now we can go ahead and steam. I find that the Gaggia is a pretty capable steamer. It does a nice job. And there we go, that's plenty hot. Okay, now we can go ahead and pour ourselves a little cappuccino. Of course, we got to remember to refill the boiler. That's important. And there you go, the Barista Gadgets PID tested out with an espresso, with making milk foam and a cappuccino. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys, and if so, give it a like, check out my other videos. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, it's totally free. And until next time, I say happy coffee drinking and happy espresso drinking. Bye now.